Hello again. This time we're back to tell you about the footy that we went to.
The footy.
The footy. Some of the guys that I work with and a bunch of other people that we talked to, when we asked them what should we do, what's like a local Melbourne kind of thing to do. Lots of people told us to go to a local sporting event, and they told us to go to a football game. Now, because we'd previously traveled to Europe, we thought football meant that they wanted us to go to a soccer game. And then they said, no, it's something else. And then they described it, and we thought, okay, so that's rugby, right? What you're talking about is rugby. But nope, it's not rugby. And it's not football as we know it.
Nope.
It's a completely different game that I didn't even know existed. It's called the AFL.
American, nope.
Not American.
Australian Football League.
So right, it's the Australian Football League. And it's a completely different game than anything I've ever seen. It looks a little bit like rugby when you're watching it.
Except for not.
And it looks a little bit like soccer, except for not. And it looks a little bit like football.
Kind of like basketball, too.
Yeah,
I noticed, which is weird. So it's like soccer, basketball, rugby, football game.
So yeah, we went, the place where they play is called what is it?
It's the cricket stadium, so that's even more confusing.
Yeah, the Melbourne Cricket Grounds, the MCG is what it was called. And so that's only a 10-minute walk from our house. So we got some tickets and we walked over 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was not 10.
Close.
It was like 20.
It's right out there. I can see it right now.
You can see it, but that doesn't mean it's 10 minutes. That's a big balcony. You can see it a lot. But yeah, everyone was really excited about football. And like we went out to lunch with some of Josh's coworkers, and they were just really, really excited about football. Started telling us all about it, so we had to go. And that was even something we read about before we even got to Melbourne, that the stadiums are like a big deal here. There's stadiums everywhere. They're all kind of right next to each other, actually. And so this place is all about their sports, and football is one of the big ones.
Yeah, they take it as seriously as we do football in the States. So it's their big sport that they seem to really love. And so we went to the game and walked up to our seats in the stadium, and we had really good seats.
Really good
Which were really affordable, actually.
And you know what I realized? Actually, maybe you realized it for me. I can't remember. When we got there, that was my first football game, like, seeing it live ever. Like, any kind of football. Like, I haven't been to an NFL game, so this was my first football game experience.
And so, yeah, then we just kind of sat down and tried to figure out what the heck was going on, essentially.
Which is rough, since I don't really understand American football that well anyways. Like, maybe that made it better, because I had, like, very little to kind of compare it to. But I realized at some point that it looked a little bit like basketball, the way they like block each other, and
right, you kind of man on man.
Right, so like everyone's kind of like paired up. Like there'll be one person from this team and one person from this team, and they're paired up, and they kind of like jump in front of each other and like wave their arms to like block each other, which looked a little basketballish to me.
Right, and as opposed to American football, where there's all these downs and the gameplay keeps stopping and stopping. They do something, then they stop. They do something, then they stop. This was more like rugby in that they just kept going the whole time. There was very little downtime. They were just always running for the whole game.
Right, but even rugby, like I was watching a rugby game on
even
TV
then they had downs.
A couple weekends ago. Yeah, and they at least have downs. Like they don't stop as much as in American football, but they at least were like, they had downs. This is just like, you're just running back and forth all the time. Like there's not really like line markers on the field or anything. You're just kind of like running to get a goal, like so kind of like soccer, I guess. Like there's not a down, so in that way it's kind of like soccer.
Yeah, and so they have a ball that kind of is shaped a little bit like a football, and it's like this big yellow thing. And what you can do with it, you can run with it yourself, but you can't run too far without dribbling it, which is weird because they're on a field with an oblong ball, but they're dribbling
again, kind of like basketball.
You just dribble it once, and then you can pass it to a teammate, but you can't actually pass it. You have to do this weird thing where you punch it, you hold it out and you punch it over to your teammate, which seems bizarre. Such a weird thing. And when they catch it, they call that a mark. And from there, gameplay stops almost a little bit in that when you catch it, like...
It's allowed to stop.
Yeah, and then you have a few seconds to decide what the heck you're going to do with it from there.
But most of the time it doesn't stop, just keep going.
They just keep going. And frequently what they do then is once you catch the mark, you kick it to your teammate. So that's something that you don't see in football a lot, is that... it was more like soccer in that most frequently what they did was that they just kicked it to their teammate, or they just kicked it all the way down to the field and then hoped that one of their guys was the one that was going to get it.
And frequently it was. Like they were pretty good at just like kicking it and then just like
they had a lot of control over their kicks.
Yeah, so it was kicking, punching, and and bouncing.
Yeah, and bouncing. And even the refs, like when play would start and the ref would have the ball, it was hilarious. They would take it and then they would hold it up real high and then they would spike it to the ground and then it would go way up in the air and everyone would jump for it.
Yeah.
Or there was this one part where if they go out of bounds, it seems like the ref takes it out of bounds and then puts it back to the field.
Sometimes.
And then goes like this and throws it over his
Yeah,
head.
but sometimes
Like
that would happen and
like
sometimes...
a bride tossing her bouquet.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes that would happen and sometimes like the person on the team who didn't kick it out would just get to kick it in. So I don't really know what the difference between that was.
But ultimately, the goal is that there are these 4 goalposts at the end, and they're not like the American football one where it's like a T with a U on the top. It's just a big stick.
Yes.
And there are 2 really tall ones, and then
2 shorter
next to each other,
ones.
and then 2 shorter ones outside of that. So if you kick it between
A tall one and a short one.
then it's 1 point.
Yes.
And if you kick it between 2 tall ones,
It's 6 points.
it's 6 points. So
We caught on.
we caught on, we figured it out. And so that's pretty much how it worked for, we had 4 quarters that were not all the same length, which
I
was
know.
strange.
We're like, is a quarter 24 minutes and 56 seconds?
Yeah.
Or like what? Sometimes it was like 30 minutes. But it was around 2 hours-ish.
Right.
The game was. Well, with all the breaks in between
Closer
the
to
quarters, it was around 3 hours.
Yeah, so it's close to what an American football game is in
Length is.
terms of time.
Which is kind of, I mean, I don't know, surprising or something if you think about the fact that they don't stop. Like in
Right.
American football, they're stopping and there's a lot of breaks in between.
And there's
But-
offense and there's defense. This is everybody's on the team or on the field at the same time. And the turnovers are like insane. Like it happens every 6 seconds. Like this team's got the ball, then this team's got the ball,
Yeah.
then this team's got the ball. And scoring is the same way. So the score at the end was over 100.
It was like 86 to like 130 or something
Like that. And it was the Geelong Cats who won the game against the
Richmond Tigers. Because everyone around us was screaming, "Go the Tigers!"
Go Tigers!
Yeah, but most of the time they said like the Tigers. Like instead of like "Go Tigers," it was like "Go
They said-
the Tigers."
They
which
said go
was-
the Tigers?
Yeah, it was kind of strange.
Go the Tigers!
Anyways.
And
We
so-
weren't cheering for anyone in particular. Like I started the game kind of excited for the Tigers because that's who a lot of
seem to
people
be
around
local,
us were excited for. But then I realized that I wasn't going to pick a side because I didn't really want to pick sides.
Because everybody around us was really angry.
Yeah.
We didn't want to make anybody mad.
Because then I realized that actually we were kind of sitting in a weird area where there were Tigers fans and Cats fans. So I was just like quietly happy whenever anyone scored.
Go team.
Go team, go. Yeah, I don't know. But it was really fun.
Overall, yeah, it was a blast.
It was
a
so
really
fun
good
that we
experience.
stayed for the whole game. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even when you go to an American football game, I think it's fairly normal to leave at like the third quarter or something if someone's obviously fairly ahead, which was happening in this game. But it was fun enough that we stayed the whole time.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So
Oh, wait, I have one more thing to say. They jump really high.
they do jump really high, and so yeah, because the ball's always getting kicked around. It's always like in the air, and like 10 guys just all run up and jump for it at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they bobble it around. The thing is, I was telling Kelly, like, one of their catches is like what you would think as the most amazing catch in our football, because it's that moment where this guy's like bobbling it and then he kind of hits it to his other teammate who bobbles it, and then
Yeah.
another guy comes and jumps in the air and grabs it. This happens every 30 seconds in Australian football.
Yeah.
And so it's just this non-stop kind
I think
of
Americans
go, go,
would
go.
really like this game.
Yeah, it's pretty
fun.
crazy.
Like, I'm not going to say it's better than American football
Because it's not.
that would make people angry, but I think it was really fun to watch.
It was fun.
And there's not as much tackling that happens, and there's no padding or anything.
There is tackling, but
There's not as much.
Right.
Yeah, it happens for like 2 seconds, and then like as soon as anyone is like tackled, the whistle blows, and something happens that I don't understand. But
We don't know what happens when you get tackled.
but it doesn't happen that often. So. Anyways, fun game. Yay! I'm
Fun
glad we
game.
went.
Right. All right. So if you can catch an AFL game on TV, do it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.